Welcome back to Harmonize Your Life Conversations on Self-Care for Women of Color podcast with your host, Dr. Tony G. Alvarado. We're glad to have you back this week as we continue our conversations around self-care, health, wellness in season 7 of the Harmonize Your Life podcast. Thank you for tracking with us, and thank you for being here this week and being a part of another intriguing conversation. I know that our conversation today will be a blessing to your life. So just stay with us and we'll be right back after this. Well, all right. Well, we have in the podcast studio with us this week, Dr. Alicia Lola Jones. I want to introduce her to you, Jones Skinner. I want to introduce her to you, and then we will begin our conversation for this week. Dr. Alicia Lola Jones Skinner is an associate professor in the music department at the University of Cambridge in the UK. She is a board member of the Society for Ethnomusicology, a member of the Strategic Planning Task Force for the American Musicological Society, and co-chair of the Music and Religion section of the American Academy of Religion. Additionally, as a performer scholar, she consults museums, conservatories, seminaries, and arts organizations on curriculum, live and virtual event programming, and content development. Dr. Jones's book, Flaming: The Peculiar Theopolitics of Fire and Desire in Black Male Gospel Performance, breaks ground by analyzing the role of gospel music making in constructing and renegotiating gender identity among Black men. Dr. Jones's book has been awarded the 2021 Ruth Stone Music in American Culture and Philip Brett Prizes. Her research interests extend to global pop music, musics of the African diaspora, music and food, the music industry, and the marketplace, and anti-oppressive ways of listening to Black women. A little known fact is that Dr. Alicia Lola Jones and her sister, Reverend Angela Maria Jones, are co-owners of the Paradise Media Group, a Black women-owned radio company based in Oxford and Henderson, North Carolina. Welcome, Dr. Alicia. Welcome to our podcast conversation this week.
Thank you for having me. I so admire you and the space that you create for other women, and I'm just happy to be in the number. Thank you so much for this conversation.
This is a long conversation, right?
Yes.
This is long overdue. Yes. I admire you too and the work that you are doing, and just the work that you've done as a ethnomusicologist, and the work that you do in just with womanist theology, and just what you do to uplift our community through music and your scholarship and your writing. You know, my husband just loves you. My son adores you, and my daughter. All of my musical family loves you and appreciates your work.
Oh, awesome. I appreciate your family. Even as we were preparing to record and have our conversation, the music that was permeating your home, it really does trickle into how you show up in the world. There's a musicality that comes from your family and how they engage folks. So thank you.
Yeah, when before we came on, my son was practicing He's going to be playing for standing in for one of his professors that was asked to play for a an artist, a classical artist that's coming to our area in Middle Georgia, and his professor could not do it, and he recommended Jonathan to do it. And so I'm just like, wow, that's just
Ready in season and out of season.
yeah. And you know, he'll be finishing up his master's degree in music. And one of the things I love is listening every now and then, listening to him play the piano, listening to him practice. It just, you can hear it all over the house, and just the sound of the piano through the house, just, it's something about it that lifts our spirit. And my daughter sings. She's at Ohio State University in the conducting program there. And so listening and watching her, one of the things that really, when the pandemic hit and she was at Spelman and had to come home and finish her last year at home, and I really got a chance to experience her music as she was preparing for her senior recital and getting ready. And she was on the board of the HBCU, National HBCU Choir, and she had to do a lot of during that time they had to do a lot of singing, virtual singing. And so they were doing all of these recordings, and still today, Ariel, every now and then, whenever that video is shown of the HBCU, the National HBCU Choir singing I Lift Every Voice and Sing, and it's all over, and everybody's playing it, and people will send me screenshots. Oh, look who I saw today. And but I remember when she was preparing for that, and to hear her singing around the house, it's something about it that lifts the spirit, just, the music. And that's what I want to talk to today about. Our topic today is I Sing Because, the role of music and self-care. And you and I had some discussions offline, and so I want us to talk about that whole month. The month of May is National Mental Health Month, and so I want to kind of look at it from that perspective as well. What music does to lift the soul, what it does to rejuvenate the mind, the body, the whole experience of our lives.
Oh, I think it's a great topic. As I reflected on our time together, I thought of how important it was to be a vocalist for me as a music scholar. I went to conservatory, went to divinity school, found myself in a graduate program, a doctoral program. And I, after conservatory, I kind of turned away from pursuing music full time because I wanted to get a sense of what my calling was and how it was defined as Alicia's talent. I'm a preacher's kid. Both of my parents are ministers, Reverend Dr. Alvin and Reverend Dr. Martha Jones. And so as preacher's kids, we often realize that our life is not our own. So I wanted to know what my life was musically. And so I remained musically involved and tried to continue it through my doctoral program. And there came a point where a non-Black advisor told me that I needed to put my academic cap on and stop taking voice lessons.
Wow.
And I get what they were trying to get at. It's just the means was incorrect and culturally irrelevant.
Okay.
It was such a stressful involvement, and pursuing doctoral work, it does, often involve stress. And vocal music was a stress reducer for me, breathing deeply, emoting, finding literature and music that resonated with me, that I enjoyed, that I thought was beautiful. those pleasurable components. And it was my lifeline. Unfortunately, I did back off of vocal participation a little bit. And
Okay.
as soon as I did that, my health suffered. That deep
Wow.
breathing, that was the glue for me.
Mm.
My blood even changed. And ever since that moment, Dr. Alvarado, and since I have become a professor myself,
Mhm.
I don't touch the musical lives of my students. That is not African, that is not
Mhm.
African American. And
Mhm.
I try to encourage them to pursue the music that brought them to this space. Uh,
Okay.
and so, yeah, I don't think there needs to be that separation. And in fact, as you suggested, the title of this podcast, it's a lifeline. It really is.
It really is. And so when you in your work as an ethnomusicologist,
Yes, yes, yes.
I love that term. I mean that word, and I was practicing it to make sure I would say it
It
correctly.
happens all the time.
Am I
It,
saying it right?
yes, ma'am. Mhm. Yes,
Okay. So you're growing up in the church, you're growing up in a musical a creative family
mhm.
inspired you to go into this work.
Yes, yes. My mom sings. She has a sort of operatic approach to singing, and she says that my grandmother, who died shortly before I was born, she says so did my grandmom. Actually, my grandmom, whose name is Lola,
Mhm.
she moved to Chicago, I believe, to pursue music study um,
Mhm.
for a bit in her life.
Mhm.
So there's a little full circle there with me eventually getting to Chicago, your home city, um,
Yeah.
to study music. But yeah, I heard my mom singing in church and in the home. My dad was a trained journalist, working in radio and television, doing production around various music artists, helping with their touring arrangements. And so I heard the live sorts of music in the home and in church, but then also listening to Black radio was just such
Wow.
an important part, like active listening to the radio, talking about the lyrics, talking about the story behind the song, the
Yeah.
business of how that song came about.
Yeah.
Those listening practices were a huge part of my development, and yeah, it's a way we have music education.
And something you said, listening practices.
Mhm.
I wanted that just kind of sounds like not just in the role of listening to music, but even when it comes to self care, it
Yeah,
requires the discipline of listening, listening to our body, listening to what our mind is saying, listening to our soul, our spirit. That whole practice of listening is
yeah.
so important.
Oh,
Discipline of listening, the spiritual discipline of listening is so important. And so it kind of all comes full circle for me when I hear you say that. The practices of listening that you learned as a child and listening to Black radio and listening to the songs and the story behind the songs.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, that's very powerful. So historically, um, Dr. Alicia, traumatized people have managed their trauma through musicking. I
Mhm.
learned the term through my son,
Yeah,
John.
yeah.
Musicking. So, can you describe to us in what are some of the ways in which this has occurred?
Yeah. So, music king is a term we get from the scholar Christopher Smalls, which indicates um, sort of a mutuality in music, where there's the music making and listening, and at any given moment, we can be a participant in those ways. Um, yeah, traumatized people have made music to emote, to tap into nostalgia. Nostalgia is such an important idea for us,
Okay.
particularly those of us who lead worship. Nostalgia is one of the most important components of worship that we tap into, but we don't often know that this is a feature we should account for. Those sentiments and the sentimentality associated with the memories that we attach to
Mm.
the music we love. For example, I've been working on various documentaries, and most recently was participating in a radio documentary for Stevie Wonder. And I was asked about what songs I love by Stevie Wonder. And in my mind, he's my music minister.
Okay.
And Isn't She Lovely was played on the radio that my father worked at when I was born. And so when
Okay.
I hear that song, I think of my father love for me, you know, love I have for him.
Uh-huh.
Um, Nostalgia, that value, that sense of belonging and love, all is wrapped up in the memories associated with that song. And so when people are dealing with trauma, nostalgia is a very useful tool for folks and their listening practices. Also, for traumatized people, a useful musical term can be deep listening.
Okay.
This is a term that was proposed by Judith Becker in a book entitled Deep Listening. Again, these sort of active practices that have been named variously around the world by, by, um, thinkers, elders in our community talk
Okay.
about listening and listening well. You better mind. These sorts of listening practices are all
Did
throughout our
you hear me?
yes, yes,
And did you hear me? You didn't just hear the words coming out of my mouth. You heard all the
right.
meaning, that everything. You heard what I said and what I didn't say,
And how I said it.
and
Yes,
how I said it, my facial expression and all, body language and all.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
deep listening.
Those are musical resources that people tap into when dealing with loss, trauma, longing for home. Um,
Yeah.
and they are important tools that ministers, I think, could really reflect on how they deploy nostalgia and deep listening as they seek to heal people and provide therapy for people. Absolutely.
Would that be what's used in music therapy?
Yeah, I think there are several terms that folks have come up with to therapize music listening and making. Um, yeah, absolutely. Music therapy is a white dominated field currently, even though we know how music making and listening is good for the soul. There are people who may not assume the designation of music therapist or pursue formal training in it, but we do understand the medicine that is found in
Yeah,
music that reminds us of who we are.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. Wow. So the month of May is National Mental Health Month, and so um, as an ethnomusicologist, what could you tell us about the role of music in our mental health?
Absolutely. Um, I think when I think of the role of music in mental health, I think of how um, I think of Black radio. I think of um, WHUR, Howard University radio in my hometown of DC, and how listening to the radio in particular, um, in the Black radio tradition, gives us the opportunity to have the conversation, whether
Okay.
it is dedicating a song to our boo, And we might have just had an argument. We call into the radio station, and there the whole community is brought into what we are trying to resolve through the dedication of a song, or the ways in which Black radio allows us to explore stress, the stress of a demanding work week, through songs that address those stressors. Even gospel music that we will find on the very same stations that allow us to praise, pray, as well as engage in active spiritual warfare, as we would say. I think Black radio is an unsung element of our self-care and our mental well-being, largely because it's a sonic clearinghouse for our culture.
Yeah. It's amazing because when we think about our music and we think about the songs, it's amazing how I'm thinking about when we were going through the pandemic, right? When we first started going through the pandemic, when in 2020, when everything really shut down and we were sheltered in place and we weren't traveling, ministry, everything just stopped. And you know what was interesting? Do you remember which artist was it? Was it D-Nice?
DJ, yeah.
DJ. All of a sudden, he just decided to go on Instagram and start doing just a live thing. And all of a sudden, and it was like it was almost like we came out of, you know how when I was growing up, I'm from Chicago. So I remember block parties when I was growing up, where you had the whole neighborhood would come out for a party. When your whole, you know what I'm saying? We don't do that anymore, but I'm telling my age here. So we had block parties where the whole community would come out and somebody would be playing music. We'd have food. Kids are running up and down the street. We'd have the ice cream truck would be coming by and somebody would be serving ice cones and hot dogs, and the whole neighborhood was partying on the block party. And that's what that was like for us. People just started coming online, and then all of a sudden, then that's when all of the verses, we didn't have all that before. Talking about the music, getting together around this music that was healing for us.
Yeah. That was a whole phenomenon that opened up a new way of curating musical experiences, largely because there was so much invested in live concerts that when the pandemic hit, all of this anticipated income just dried up like overnight, literally. And he saw the opportunity to take the fine skills of a DJ artist and translate them through the platform of Instagram Story, which only allowed people at that time to do 1 hour increments of streaming. But in many ways, he just translated the tradition of the DJ as priest in the Black culture to DJ as priest through social media. And by priest, I mean that person, what's that song? DJ keep playing that song. Yeah. Johnny, yes. He channeled those resources and those skills and brought the party to us. DJs are really good at learning how to keep the party going and going, just like live band artists are.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. And they know the songs that get folks to lose themselves.
Yes. The songs that make everybody get out on the floor.
Yes.
You can be at a party or at an event, and everybody, you'll hear the music, but certain songs make us all come to the floor.
Absolutely, absolutely. Get us to close our eyes, start to move with the music, have no cares about who's around us.
Yeah.
There are sophisticated terms like entrancing or trancing, where as you do the repetitive interaction with the beat and repeated phrases, it no longer becomes an involvement, but you become one with the groove. You become one with it,
and your foot without even, it's almost autonomic. You don't even think about it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You lose yourself, people say.
Yeah.
And through the DJ, through that electronic music, he or she taps into the memories that we associate with those songs from decades ago, or that our parents listened to in their rent
and take us right back there.
Yes.
To happier times. And so like when we were in the pandemic and we list those moments, those things, and people started looking forward to it, going online, and it made us for a minute forget about that we're sheltered in, made us for a minute forget about that, you know, we haven't seen our loved ones in months, and the things that we had to endure during that season. And so I just think there's so much therapy that goes along with our music and self-care. I think, you know, a lot of times when we talk about self-care, we don't include our music in that. And that's why I wanted to have this conversation with you, because I don't know how many, I know for me, a lot of times when I need to relax, there's certain musics that make me relax. Or when sometimes I want to just have instrumental music on, or certain types of instruments, wind instruments or string instruments that really, I don't, and you as an ethnomusicologist will know way more about scientifically what that does for us, but and maybe you can speak to maybe what certain type of musics do for us sensory wise. Or am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, yeah. Well, we know through anthropology that the musics that soothe you, calm you, or evoke particular emotions, it's subjective. So that means it has to do with your preference, your cultural context,
Okay.
your history, whether or not this music was a part of your formation.
Okay.
So it is relative.
Okay.
There was that whole Bach for Babies movement, right? Where
Okay.
it was supposed to be the music that intellectually groomed your child. But I would also say that Donny Hathaway intellectually stimulates our children.
Yeah.
There's cultural relevance to exposing our children to a Donny Hathaway or a Roberta Flack. So yeah, there is a subjectivity that goes along with it. I think that we should be very mindful about how we expand ourselves through our listening practices, how we stretch ourselves and try new sounds, not just for our pleasure, but so that when we encounter new people, we have the tools to have a sense of where they come from and what sonically sounds great for them. But yeah, it's a very relative thing. And particularly as people of color, there's been such a Eurocentric domination of what soothes and what calms, to the exclusion of the musics like my mama singing to me.
Yeah.
Or my sister leading worship. Like those sounds are much more familiar and cozy and soothing than a Chinese gong would be for my neighbor. Nothing to bash the gong. It's just history, context, the memories associated with those things.
Right, right.
Now, having said that, there we can be introduced to sounds that we are unfamiliar with that resonate with us, and we share similar experiences. But I don't want to discount what we already know to be the
Okay.
sounds that soothe us.
Okay. That's good. And I just wanted to make sure that those that are listening, you know, I wanted to make sure that those that are listening understand that music, music has a role in our self-care.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if that is often thought of when we say self-care. A lot of times people are thinking more about, exercising, eating healthy, um, maybe going to the spa or different activities that we engage in for self-care. But I want to make sure that we include our music in our self-care, whatever that is for you individually. Like you said, it's subjective based on our experiences, our age group, age, but I'm gonna tell you something. Like my children, some of the stuff that my kids listen to, I got in my daughter's car one day and she was listening to Al Green.
I love it.
And I mean, she had a whole track of Al Green. And I said, "What you know about Al Green?" And she's 22. She said, "Ma, I love this." I mean, we ride down the street. So, they've gone back and gotten some of the music from my era that, that really, 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 they like that. Some of the stuff from our era. And so I do think that some of the music transcends our age generations. And even some of it transcends our culture. And so yeah, but I just want to make sure that those that are listening include music in their self-care practices.
Well, you prompt me to design impromptu an assignment. We just got finished reading and Move and Shake Women, a peer mentorship group that my sister and I started. This book on the sacred principles of pampering. I think you saw the book.
Yeah, I actually have the book with Sabrina Jackson Gandy.
Yes.
And I had Sabrina. Sabrina did tea time for me one Saturday. She is phenomenal.
Yes, and I like that she challenges us to really think about the activities, involvements, things, people that bring just us joy.
Okay.
And so if I were to design an impromptu assignment to sonically pamper us, I would challenge your listeners and viewers to consider creating a playlist in the spirit of a mixtape.
Okay.
Create a playlist, not about who you are on your CV, not about who you are in your bio, but who you are to yourself. It might start with, "Isn't she lovely?" It might go into Anthony David's Amber. Amber is the color of your energy. What is your soundtrack and ballad to yourself and 12 selections where you really reboot yourself at the beginning and ending of your day? I'm not talking about your workout playlist because that has another function. But this particular playlist is your narratives about who you are to you. Yeah. And it centers your experience, your loveliness. I might even put Mint Conditions. The song I think is it starts with Pretty Brown Eyes. Yes, visual. Yeah, the experience of who I am.
Yeah. I love that. So that's everybody that's listening. You hear this. This is our assignment. We are to put together our playlist that centers around who we are to ourselves. So I'm not really think about what musics or what songs really I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that. And I think what we'll do is, Dr. Alicia, I'm gonna have you come into Tea Time with Dr. Tony, and let's do that with the ladies in Tea Time.
Yeah, I would add Betty Carter's My Favorite Thing. raindrops of roses and whiskers on kittens. I love the way she does that. You know, I love the Von Trapp family and Sound of Music. So it could tell your story. That a 12-track narrative of who you are to yourself.
Yeah. Wow. That's phenomenal. That I love it. I love it. Well, you just kind of gave me the answer to the next question I was going to ask you was, does your self-care include different genres of music? And if so, which genres? And so just your answer, I mean, your challenge to us kind of answers that question.
Yeah.
But if you can drill down just a little bit more, what genres of music really speak to Alicia?
Yeah, I like, and here I'm showing my DC and Chicago, you know, vibe. I like quiet storm music. I like, yeah, I like New Jack Swing too. You know, give me some Guy and some Mint Condition, as I mentioned. But then also give me that kind of music that I can play after 10 p.m. when it's raining outside, the wind is blowing, and I am decompressing, that you would find on those Black radio formats. And it always started with Smokey Robinson singing Quiet Storm. Yes, love that music. I love that music. On any given day, there will be a different genre. But today, I'm about that New Jack Swing and that Quiet Storm format.
Okay. And I think for me, I'm probably in this stage of my life, I was looking at a clip of Gladys Knight, one of my friends, Dr. Renita Wings. She put a clip of Gladys Knight, and Gladys Knight is 78 years old and still singing. And still giving fabulous performances. You know, we had an experience, Bishop and I went to see Gladys perform in Vegas. And when I tell you, we fell in love with each other all over again at that concert. I mean, and when she got to singing, neither one of us want to be the first to say goodbye. And I mean, just, you know, all those things. And what was interesting is the same feeling that I found myself lifting my hands like I would in church. The same feeling that I have when I feel like I'm just serenading the Lord, or the Lord is serenading, the Spirit is serenading me.
Yeah,
with the same feeling. And so I think music, as my son Jonathan says, music doesn't have a sacred or secular thing. It's labels that we put on it as people. But just to know that it wherever it takes us, whether it's our classical music, you know, whether it's our R&B, whether it's your Smokey Robinson, Stevie Wonder, Michael Jackson, come on, you know, or whether it's who's our artists today, who's some of our more, or if it's Smokey Norfolk, or you know what I'm saying, if it's who you want to listen to, who you, Mary J. Blige, you know, when I get on my Peloton bike, one of my trainer that I work out with, my favorite one on Peloton, Tunde, she's a Nigerian girl. She plays so much Mary J. Blige. I have fallen in love with Mary J. Blige. Just riding on my Peloton bike. But you know, but whatever it is, I just think that I love your challenge to us, developing that playlist that speaks to who we are. And maybe that playlist has to change based on the seasons that we're in or what we're experiencing. Sometimes I want to hear music that has with vocals, and then sometimes I just want the music with no vocals. Sometimes I want to hear foot stomping, hand clapping, you know, beats that's gonna make me, you know what I'm saying? I want to do all of that. And then sometimes I just want to lift my hands. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think having a repertoire is important. I
Mhm.
think we joke about vibe, but that's an actual thing.
Yeah, it
The
is.
vibe, the vibration, the charge of the music that we're listening to. I even was reminded as you were talking that a part of my self care and sort of self retrieval in doctoral work was I went to support a sister who went to the same church as I, and she did yoga classes, and
Mhm.
um, it helped me to really think about mindfulness and deep listening, largely because of the mantras and
Uh-huh.
the internal scripts
Uh-huh.
I needed to rework about my abilities and the divine in me.
Mhm.
She facilitated a class that was a candlelight class. So it was at this time, it was, as dusk was emerging, it overlooked Chicago. Um, and she played R&B music, but like that R&B music that it comes on around 7 o'clock,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
where it's all about love,
Mhm.
romantic
Mhm.
love, the serenade kind of music.
Mhm.
And that was my introduction to hot yoga,
Yeah.
candlelit yoga. And I was much more receptive to that than the what I might describe as perhaps the music that is a part of yoga culture.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Having that facilitator with the music that helps me to unwind from my cultural context really made me enjoy and return
The
to
experience. The
yeah,
experience.
the
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And sometimes the music is not just what is external, it's also the music of our lives. What are
Yeah.
we saying to ourselves? What is our internal script?
Yeah.
How are we saying yes to ourselves? How
Yeah.
are we actively engaging the thoughts that are in our minds?
Yeah.
That's music too.
Yeah.
That is.
That reminds me of my whole thesis on harmony.
Mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm,
Harmonize your life, and I use music in my book. I
mm-hmm,
use music as the metaphor for self-care,
mm-hmm,
and the whole idea of harmony, bringing it all together. And what sometimes on a musical score may not look like it go there, but you know what I'm saying? But the conductor knows how to make it, or whoever's playing it or writing it knows how where everything needs to go, when it needs to go there, and how it needs to come together. And that's the way I approach self-care, from a harmony
mm-hmm.
or perspective. And so having a musical background, I approach life from that vantage point. And so and self-care. And I think this is so important that we include our music in our self-care. And I appreciate you for helping us think through that, challenging us along those lines, and really helping us to think deeper and listen
Mm,
deeply to ourselves and what music can do for us in our self-care.
I
Thank
love it.
thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. Thank you. But sis, I want to just let people know where they can find you. First, let me just let them know that if you're just tuning in, you're listening to Harmonize Your Life Conversations on Self-Care for Women of Color podcast with Dr. Tony Alvarado. You can find us on Apple, on Google, on Spotify. You can find us on YouTube. I want to put my YouTube information there. Go to my YouTube channel. If you are not subscribed to my YouTube channel, I want to encourage you to go there and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It will be a blessing in your life. But to do that, you'll be notified whenever we upload new episodes of the podcast. Go there and do that. And you help us with this podcast by subscribing and sharing the episodes after you've listened to them, sharing them with others. Because I know if it's blessing you, if you know it's blessing you, then it will also bless someone else. So go there to our YouTube channel and subscribe to it. I also want to encourage ladies to join the Harmonize Your Life Women Self-Care Network. We network around self-care, health, wellness, fitness that we have been doing now for 2 years. And so I want to encourage you to come on into the network, be a part of this self-care movement for women of color that we have begun. And it's things like these conversations that we're having today that we involve ourselves in Tea Time with Dr. Tony and other aspects of the self-care network. We give information, inspiration, motivation, and we fellowship with one another and hold one another accountable for self-care in the network. Listen, I want you to know that my fitness challenge in May, y'all know I like to throw out a challenge every now and then. For the month of May, it's my birthday month. I got a birthday fitness challenge. Go to my website at Dr. Tony Alvarado and join the fitness challenge. Come on, let's get fit together in the month of May. Listen, I want to help you get your beach body on. So when you get back out there, when you go back to the beach, you want to go back not looking like you've been sitting down for 2 years. All right.
Summer is coming.
Summer is coming. Summertime.
Yes.
Yes. So come on, get with the fitness challenge. Go to my website, drtonyalvarado.com. You can find all of what I'm doing, the Self-Care Network. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel there, and you can join my fitness challenge there on my website at drtonyalvarado.com. I also want to let you know that our sister and our friend, Dr. Alicia Lola Jones, where you can find her website is dralicia.com. Do I have that right, sis?
Yes, ma'am.
dralicia.com. You can go there, get her book. Tell us the book. We didn't talk about your book at all. Give us the name of your book. I'm gonna put it, they can get it on I'm gonna type a banner while you're talking.
Okay.
It's Flaming.
Yes, Flaming. I got it near the computer.
Okay.
Flaming, ? The peculiar theopolitics of fire and desire in Black male gospel performance. And it is about Black men's performance of gender and sexuality and gospel music, following the trope of the flamboyant choir director.
Okay, so Black male gospel.
Yes, performance.
Performance or performer?
Performance.
Okay, I think I got it. I want to put it up there, and they can get it on Amazon.
They get it, or through my website, Barnes and Noble. Yes, if you get it to my website, I'm happy to sign a copy of it for you. Yes.
All right,
yes.
so I got it there. Flaming, the peculiar theopolitics of Black male gospel performance, right?
Yeah. The peculiar theopolitics of fire and desire in Black gospel performance. It's long, but you know the allusions in it. Fire and desire, Rick James.
Oh yeah, fire and desire
in Black gospel performance. Yes.
Okay. I got it. I want to put it up there right. All right. I think I got it. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. I got it right. Okay. I have the book.
Yes.
Screen the right way so they would know it. So if you're watching us on YouTube or you're listening to us on Spotify or Anchor, the Flaming ? The peculiar theopolitics of fire and desire of Black male gospel performance. And it's a groundbreaking work. She's been doing a lot of interviews around it, a lot of teaching around it. And now you're over in Cambridge.
Yes.
Teaching. I mean, look at you. We're so proud of you.
We're everywhere. And I
did tell y'all she's my soror too. So
yes.
So I have to mention that. That's right. Wow. Well, Dr. Alicia, can you give us one last word of encouragement before we sign off?
Yes. Make your life just like music. Find your groove. Don't grind. Find your groove and stay in it. Don't let anyone steal your joy. And often that joy is enhanced with a robust musical life. So be sure to design your life, harmonize your life, just like music.
Wow. Wow. Just like music. Harmonize your life just like music. I couldn't have said that any better. I couldn't have said that any better. Thank you so much, sis, uh, for for having this dialogue with us, encouraging us, and educating us on the role of music in self-care. I
Thank
told you all were going, you're very welcome. I told you all you were going to be blessed by this week's conversation. Stay with us all month. We have so many more dialogues that we're going to be having. We got five. May has 5 Mondays. We already done one. This is our second one. And then we will have 3 more coming to you this month that will be a blessing as we are in season 7 of the Harmonize Your Life podcast. See you next week for another intriguing podcast conversation. See you soon. Hi, this is Dr. Tony Alvarado, and I want to personally invite you to join the Harmonize Your Life Women's Self-Care Network. Join us for fitness motivation, health and wellness information, inspiration, self-care strategies, and ideas for creating harmony in your life. As a certified health and wellness coach, it is one of my greatest honors to support women in their fitness, health, wellness, and self-care goals. Join the Harmonize Your Life Women's Self-Care Network, and we will do you good on your journey.